What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Timothy Hannick. Alright, guys, I almost completely forgot all about this stuff. In this notebook, 70-page notebook here, I wrote down my life story. Now, it doesn't have all the details on here, okay? Not every little detail is in here. But all the major things that has happened throughout my life is in here. And it goes back and forth, so I'm going to do my very best to explain to you guys what's going on through the story. I've made a lot of mistakes while I was writing the book. So I'll do my very best to explain as I go. I put words where they shouldn't be and this and that, so let me just explain as I go. So before I even actually read the story itself, I must read to you guys first the front cover here, basically. This is just the warning, so if anybody's young and doesn't want to listen to certain things, this is just a warning not to listen. So, this book is written by Timothy J. Hannick, which is myself. This book will have his whole life up to 23 years in here, which I'm going to actually add a little bit more. I'm 24 now. The spelling will be wrong, and there will be details that are hard to hear. There will be swearing and a lot of drama. If you do not have the stomach for sexual things or gross, bloody things, now is your chance to move away while you have the chance. Everything in this story is 100% true, and a lot of it will be almost impossible to believe. This story may open your eyes to what is really out there. This story will explain why I am who I am. There is a lot of pain in this story, so now that you all know what's coming, let's get to it. Forgive me real quick, I gotta take this message thing down. Alright. Alright. And luckily for me, I numbered all of these, so I won't really lose track of what page I'm on. Okay. Unless my ADHD kicks in and then my memory screws up on me and then I lose track of where I'm at. Which hopefully won't happen. Anyway. Going all the way back to age 8, I have a mom and a dad. Names are Geraldine Hannick and Thomas Hannick. From what I can remember, all they ever did was argue every day. There were so many times that my dad would come home and start drinking because of all the arguing they did. I can still remember my parents having sex at night and my mom screaming because it felt so good. And yes, I added that in there for my own particular reasons. My dad was a drunk and a sex addict, which was not a really good mixture. One night I heard whispering in my sister's room, so I got up and walked to the cracked open door to peek inside to see what was going on. I saw my dad naked with my sister, and she was also naked. I saw my dad rub his penis against my sister's vagina and her butt. At this time frame, my sister, Angel, was only 6 years old. I moved the door a little to see better and to try to figure out what was going on. But then the door squeaked and my dad jumped up, faced me. My dad called me over to him and made me get naked and do the same thing that he did to my sister all over again. So in other words, when my dad was rubbing his penis against my sister's body parts, he forced me to do the same thing when I was 8 years old. And I'm the oldest. My sister was 6, I think. Yeah, pretty sure she was 6 at the time. So, yeah, really disturbing. Oh, it gets better, sarcastically wise, of course. Anyway, going back before I was born, my mom wrote letters to my dad when he was in the U.S. Army. My mom told my dad that she was pregnant with me, and he didn't believe it until he got out and met me. When I was 2 years old, that's when my dad saw me, was when I was 2. Back to being 6 years old, I had a neighbor which name I don't remember. We used to fight and play outside and play video games. He had a trampoline we would jump on for fun, and sometimes his older brother would come out and fight me. The older brother would beat me up and hurt me, then decide to run for it so he wouldn't get in trouble. Now from age 8 to 10, I got a dog named Goku. That was which was a female. Okay, I was young. Goku's a male. I understand that. I was young. Leave me alone. For all those saying, why did you name a female dog Goku? Well, for one, at the moment I didn't understand what female and males were, and I could not tell them apart when it came up to animals, so those are your reasons. And Goku's my favorite anime character of all time, so there you go. Goku would always wait at the window window for me, I'm sorry. Wait for me to come home from school. Then she would chase me around for fun. I had a friend named Nathan. I can't pronounce his last name, sorry. He was my first best friend in the world. I would go to his house on Saturday every week to hang out with him. Considering he lived right across the street, it was easy to walk to. Nathan and I would have stick fights and play video games together at his house. All this was back in 3rd grade, but that's not all. I also had a second best friend, Joe. Can't pronounce his last name either. But his close friend, such as myself, would call him Joey O. Everybody who was friends with Joe would always call him Joey O. Okay, because of his last name being hard to pronounce, I'm assuming. And that's what I was always used to. The only reason I have his last name actually written in here is because I found him on Facebook and added him and wrote down his last name. I wrote all of this, by the way, when I had cancer. Oh my goodness. Get down. Okay. Joe and I would only hang out on the bus on the way to school and back home. But the time we had on the bus was still great because we always had fun goofing off. One day, this girl started to talk to us and started to mess with us by pulling our ears and hitting us with her pink school supplies such as a pink roller, anything like a pink pen or whatever that was pink at that time she used to slap us and stuff with. That's the reason I hate the color pink. A few times, well, that was back then. Now I don't really care too much. I still don't really like the color, but I don't hate it. Anyway, a few times every week, my dad would get my sister or me to please him. I don't know what he made my sister do, but as far as me, just letting you guys know, if you don't like dirty things, now you should try to skip the video a little bit or stop watching. Okay, so anyway, he would force me to watch porn with him and make me suck on his penis. Then he would try to force his penis in my butt, which never happened because I was so small. Just so you all know, it never went inside me, as I put down. A couple times a month, my dad did force my sister and I to do more dirty things together. This went on for years up until I was 12. I never did puncture my sister, so she kept her virginity until she turned 20. Unfortunately, my dad made me believe that having sex was okay and it didn't matter who it was with, which made me very lost and confused for most of my life. I had a good sister. Oh, I had a god sister, my bad. I had a god sister named Megan. She was around the same age as my sister, and because of my father, I thought it would be okay to sleep with her. So I did. The same stuff. I did the same stuff basically to Megan because I was young all at that point in time and thinking, like I said on the story, I was 8, maybe 9, and around this time, and I was messing around with my god sister. I didn't know any better. My dad made me think that it was okay. Alright, so I did the same thing to her as I did to my sister. Unfortunately, back then, I was too young to understand what I was doing, but looking back now, I still really wish it never happened. One day, my friend Nathan told me that I could bring my dog Goku over, so I got excited, called her name, and got her to run over to me. My mom told me to get her leash, but I said it would be fine. I picked up Goku, took her through the yard towards my neighbor's house so I could walk across the street. My cat's trying to jump on my table. So I walked across the street. Lost my place now. She was scratching at me. Went across the street to get to Nathan's house. Goku got excited, began to scratch me. I had to drop her, so she ran across the road, and okay, this is where it got all mixed up. I put words where they shouldn't be. So basically, let me just explain this, so I don't have to try to read it and confuse myself in my own terrible writing. I dropped my dog because she was clawing at my chest. She was really excited. And not bringing the leash like my mom told me to was a really big mistake because she ran across the street. I was going around and around and around. Nobody decided to stop. I had 2 people just ran right over her, not caring. They had plenty of time to react. They had time to just slow down or even slam on their brakes if they needed to and just stop for my dog. But no, boom, right over her. And then I had to watch her suffer, try to crawl back over to me, weeping, my bad. And as a 9-year-old, 8 or 9-year-old kid, watching your own favorite dog or therefore animal get ran over carelessly and recklessly by just plain strangers that didn't care whatsoever makes you fall apart. It's just like watching somebody die, like a best friend or a family member. That's how painful that was. Watching someone get murdered right in front of you. That's how much pain I was in, emotionally. So, after she got hit again. Somebody finished her off. Apparently they thought it was funny. I don't know, but it killed me. All I could do is stand there and cry because of my... Okay. Favorite dog getting ran over. I watched Goku twitch in pain as she tried to slowly move her way towards me. And then, like I said, another car came and finished her off. And then I had to go get my dad. He grabbed a bag and we buried her in the back, with all the tall weeds and stuff. Alright, so... trying to find out where... Okay. Jeez, I should have just kept going. Okay, I still went to Nathan's house after that big scene that happened with my dog. One day at my neighbor's place, I brought my best friend Nathan over to hang out with me and my neighbor. The three of us would jump on the trampoline and just have fun until the older guy came out to fight, which was my neighbor's older brother. He made me and Nathan fight him, and I got thrown off, which really hurt. After a few minutes went by, I managed to get up and walk to their swing set. I sat there watching my friend wrestle with the older guy. As I was getting on the swings, some kind of voice spoke to me in my head. Okay, now this is one of those things that is, like I said, going to be pretty much impossible to believe. But like I said, this is true. You can call me crazy if you want. That's all totally up to you. I was thinking about skipping these parts, but I figured I might as well just let you guys know. You guys can not believe me or believe me. That's totally up to you. Anyway. So the voice in my head was saying that its name was the legendary three-tailed tiger, and it told me to call out its name and I would get a boost of energy. Which honestly, if anybody ever meets me, I could show you the capabilities of this. I can still do this today. I put I twice. That's messed up. I had to say Tiger Instincts. That's right, Dewey. I'm just trying to read this, not tell you guys in my own version what I was doing back then. Well, what I meant by my own version is basically telling you a short version to what this is saying, the book. And voila, all this extra energy would pour out of me, but only for a minute at most. Yeah, this thing doesn't last very long for me. It's only enough to give me like a boost of speed and crap when I'm running. Like I said, it doesn't last that long. I know you're probably thinking, no way, that's impossible. But like I said before, the story got told there would be things that seem impossible, but I promise that this is all true. 100% true. With all that energy I got, I ran to the trampoline to fight, but then the older guy got called in, so it was just me and Nathan left fighting. I jumped really high, then went to kick him. Then, by mistake, I kicked him. And now, I kicked him, from what I can remember, was in the face. Okay, that's just based off my memory. And he almost fell off the trampoline. There were a lot of times that I couldn't go to my friend's house, so I would go to my grandma's. I went to my grandma's house whenever his dad decided to come early and take him because his parents were divorced. Probably ever since he was born. I don't really know, but he was really young when it happened. Anyway, my grandma's name is Virginia Waring, and by the way, she's dead now. She's been dead for about 2 years, I think. She took care of me as I grew up, and she was the one that spoiled me. Saturdays and Sundays, she would take me to Sparkle for fresh donuts, and I tell you what, donuts at Sparkle are delicious. Freshly made, super big now. They're worth the money that they charge, believe me. And if you don't like donuts, try Sparkles. You might change your mind. If you still don't like donuts, then you don't like bread. Just saying. So I got donuts and chocolate milk from Sparkle. During summer break, I would travel with my grandma to yard sales and to her friend's house. My grandma was never home. Only when it was dark she would go home and solve crossword puzzles. It was because of my grandma that I was able to stop peeing the bed, and thanks to her I was able to figure out how to drive. Going back to first or second grade, I went outside for recess class and got my arm broken when I either slipped or got pushed off the monkey bars. When I was either 11 or 12 years old, my grandma told me to get ready for a late night drive, but I had a bad feeling that something was going to happen. And this is the crazy thing too, because I still have these random not thoughts, but these really uncomfortable feelings that appear, and when they happen, most likely it means something's going to happen. It doesn't, nothing, I mean, bad things don't always happen, but there's like a 30% chance of it happening. And this was one of those 30% chances that something terrible did happen. My grandma's sisters said, I put Sard, said that she, see, this is where I messed up on my writing again. Alright, so let me just skip this little part and just explain to you guys. My grandma lived with her sister pretty much her whole life after they graduated or dropped out of school or whatever they did. And my grandma's husband died years ago, probably before I was born, and she was collecting money from his earnings or something like that. I don't know. Maybe he was a retired man or something, but she was collecting paychecks based upon their marriage and death and whatnot. I don't know how to explain it, but she got around, I think it was $800 or $900 every month. That was just enough to do what she needed to do with it, back then at least. So we end up leaving late at night to go to some kind of ice cream store. While we were driving there, we all just talked, my bad, about our life and about what we were going to do the next day. I was shirtless, sockless, and shoeless. Practically no clothes on, in other words. In the back seat with no working seat belts. Just as I was about to say Mom, which is my nickname for my grandma, some drunk driver ran right into the back end of the car. The car flipped and rolled over a ditch, and I can still remember the car rolling as all the windows were breaking all around me, covering me with glass from head to toe. I opened my eyes to look around at my surroundings, just to realize seconds later that we were all upside down. Well, at least my grandma's sister and I was. My grandmother was crushed underneath the car. I found that out once I crawled my way out a broken window. Once I got out, I crawled over to a spot away from the car and sat down. Then I began to look over at the car just to see my grandma underneath of it, with her hand reaching out with a big round cut around it. After that, all I remember was a woman pulling up to see what happened and started saying things out of panic. After some time passed, I seen flashing lights from the police and the ambulance. I can't freaking pronounce the word. I'm sorry. You guys probably know what I'm saying though. That showed up. People picked me up, put me in the ambulance. Best way I could say it. Then started asking me questions until I passed out. Yes, I have speech problems. Leave me alone. When I woke up, I looked around to realize that I was in the hospital. My mom signed me out and told me to take the prescription pills that the doctor told her about for pain. When nighttime came around, my mom and dad had to pull glass out of my back and my butt because no one at the hospital knew that I had pieces of glass still left in my body. Before my mother and I left the hospital, we went to check on Mom, which is my grandmother. From what I could remember, Mom was awake and talking, but I don't recall anything that was said after that, given time. Oh, had a burp, sorry. Going back to age 8, which was a time where I did steal one little bag of Glushers from my neighbor. Around the age of 10, I believe I would go fishing in the neighbor's pond for fun when I was really bored. One time my dad told me to go catch a fish at the neighbor's pond and bring it back to clean and cook. I told him with a smile that I won't let him down, so I ran off with some fishing equipment for about 1 hour, then called it quits. I didn't catch a thing, so I slowly walked back home empty-handed, and really sad because I let my dad down. When I was 11 or 12, not totally sure how old to be honest, but it was one of the two ages. My sister and I were sick and tired of moving back and forth between our mom and dad's place. At this time, our parents were getting a divorce. My mom moves in with her boyfriend Jeremiah, which I hated for no reason at all. Seriously. I felt like he was trying to take my father's place, and I didn't like that. So I always gave him a hard time. My dad got himself an apartment in Orwell, which is where I'm working now. That's when I went to Grand Valley School, at least when I was with my dad. When I was with my mom, I believe that I was in Lakeview School, but I didn't stay there very long, just so you all know. Not 100% sure on that one, sorry. The Lakeview School, I'm not sure if that was actually Lakeview or not, but anyway. My father had a girlfriend, but I don't know her name. That woman was nice, but her daughter wasn't. Her daughter was a big mouth. She would tell on me every chance she got. I remember one winter I was having a snowball fight. Then she came out to bother me and my sister. I got mad about it, so I decided to pee on a snowball and throw it at her. She ran inside and told on me, but I didn't care. I still laughed about it because my dad had to work before us kids went to school. He paid this old lady who was very sweet to us all a little bit of money every week, I think, to feed us and make sure we had everything we needed for school. Before she sent us out for the bus, she would make us cinnamon toast and either chocolate milk or hot cocoa with it. Looking back now, I miss that. Later on in life, years after, I did talk to that big mouth girl, but at that time she was really sweet and kind. Eventually, my sister and I came clean and told our mom what has been happening for years about our father raping us both. My mom didn't believe it, but still went to the police about it. Then my sister and I got questioned like crazy by the police. To make a long story short, my dad turned himself in due to the guilt he felt. He could have gotten away with it because the police couldn't find enough proof that he did anything. When the three of us kids, me, Angel, and my brother Zach, lived with mom and her boyfriend, we would go out to the woods or to some field to pick blackberries. My mom's boyfriend taught me how to ride on a horse and rope barrels, which was fun for practice. That was the only time I was nice to that man. There was this one time that I peed in a pop can because I was lazy to go to the bathroom, and my sister just so happened to pick it up one morning and drank it, thinking that there was pop left in it. Hey, that wasn't my fault. My sister did that on her own. Jeremiah would force me to eat pierogies, and back then I could not stand that food. So he would make me sit at the table until I either ate them or my mom would have to step in and tell me to go to my room. Eventually, my mom found out that he was cheating on her with some chick that had 2 kids of her own. He broke up with my mom and threw us out. I don't remember where we went after that, but eventually my mom ran into her boyfriend Roger, which she's still with. At first Roger was cool, but then all changed after my mom got pregnant with his son Logan, which is my half-brother. Going back to the age of 9 or 10, I was playing outside after a rainy day and slipped on wet grass and fell to my knees. Unfortunately, I just lost my place. Gosh darn it. Okay. Unfortunately for me, I had some kind of thick and big piece of glass that went to the bottom part of my knee. I still have the scar to prove it. Literally, I do. Years before that, when I was barely walking, I used to play with knives from what my mom said. One time my mom got tired of dealing with me